So controlling the narrative doesn't just mean telling lies, it means that they draw the circle for you, and it's very effective. So again, the way to beat this is using your neocortex, the thinking part of your brain, to write your own narrative. That way, no one else can do it for you, and then leave you to make up reasons to believe it later. That's called rationalizing. Maybe you remember this video about how society tells you to be nice and just be yourself and it doesn't work. Well, that would be the narrative, and everything I tell you, I figured out using this. So understanding the truth about attraction can help you understand the truth about everything.
One of the things that I love about that is that you're getting deeper than the head. You're getting deeper than what the desire is.
Exactly. It's all underneath what you think you're thinking. So let's start making connections between what I do and what you do.
It's May 2025. Now this video is inspired by an observation I've had for many years. And it has to do with social media groups, specifically the one that's the most popular social media, which is also the one that's most despised. And I've highlighted this more so in passing over the years. I think it's time to make this a primary topic, because I think a lot of people are not seeing it. No, I don't think. I know they're not seeing it, and they're being duped. Now, whether a social media group, specifically with this one particular social media, whether someone starts a group themselves, perhaps with good intentions, or it's set up by, for example, a governing body, the end result is the same. And that being that there are people who join these groups that have an agenda. An agenda, for example, usually with a governing body. And at times there's even agendas with social justice movements. But we're really going to focus on the governing body ones. People may assume or forget that there are, I'm trying to think of a descriptive, we'll call them agents, just because that's what people tend to call each other when they're angry and accuse them of being an agent or something, infiltrating a group. You have these, again, as a descriptive, agents who make posts trying to get people to react and get them angry and get them to go off the deep end. And when you see these posts, it's very clear what the intention is. And these posts could be anywhere from a meme to a written comment to perhaps even a video or a poll. And they try to get people to, they're planting the seeds for people to do something that will give the excuse for governing bodies to impose more as a descriptive tyranny or perhaps injustice. And people are taking the bait. And I've noticed something interesting, how it's a lot of people, older people, say from their 50s up, that are buying into all this kind of stuff. Not to say that people younger than that are not buying into it, but at least the ones that, for example, I've interacted with seem to be older. And these are the types of people that clearly state in some of their comments that how awake they are, how aware, whatever, and they're truthers, and they've been doing all this stuff for a long time. And these are the hardest people to get through to because they already think they know something. And perhaps they may know something, a little something, but they're oblivious to everything else. But there are these, again, as a descriptive, agents that are in these groups, regardless of who started these groups and why, who are provoking people, planting the seeds for people to do stupid things. I've seen, for example, even a post where they're talking about next time they're going to go to Ottawa with weapons, and people in the comment section going along with that. And you also have to remember there are people in the comment section, say, for something like that, who are also agents because they're trying to get people to say, get some support, saying, yeah, look, we support this. And then they have an unsuspecting witness or victim to come in and say, yeah, I support this, yeah. And then maybe they start messaging and saying, yeah, this is what you got to do. The same type of thing that we've seen with the so-called convoy. These people who are so-called heroes, fake heroes, they got duped. They got duped by going into these groups and perhaps even messaging with these agent types and drink the Kool-Aid. But this is a very real thing that people need to be aware of. When you start reading, and the post don't even have to tell people to do something. It could be something as simple as posting or commenting things that will just get people angry or more fearful. And these are all PSYOP tactics. I've been trying to really highlight PSYOPs recently to get people to start seeing it for themselves. The crazy part is, just like as a descriptive, they would point the finger at mainstream people saying how they don't want to see the truth. The same applies to these truthers and freedom types and whatever. They only see what they want to see. And there's actually a really good example of this not too long ago, a few days ago, where there was a meme. And the meme read something to the effect of leaving Alberta. So I asked a question, and there was a sub part to that meme about making life choices. So as that reads, is people are leaving Alberta based on life choices. So I asked a question, and somebody had responded saying basically to the effect of Alberta's leaving. I said, well, no, it's not proper grammar. And I was trying to highlight at the end how this person seen what they wanted to see. Because what they were seeing would mean that the meme had improper grammar, but they didn't see that. If it was Alberta leaving, then it would say Alberta leaving, not leaving Alberta. And that was a real-time example where I said to the person very respectfully, here's an opportunity, take a look. They didn't see it. But here's the subliminal message to all that. By saying leaving Alberta, regardless how people interpreted, the seed in the back of someone's mind is being planted to leave Alberta. And whether there's a mass exodus again of people leaving Alberta, just like around 2016, after the fires in northern Alberta took place and everything else. We'll have to see. But that is the subliminal message that's being presented. Now, was the person who made the meme, was that their intention? Was it just somebody who didn't know proper grammar? Or was that something that was planted? If it was somebody who just didn't know proper grammar, then that's something that can be exploited. We'll push that because it's planting that seed. It doesn't matter how much you try to say, look at, this is right in front of you, read it. Nobody cares. And there's so many other topics that I've gone through when it comes to people's posts and comments in these groups. Take, for example, how you can almost see the paranoia when people are saying, for example, when it came to filling out ballots in person, how they were told it had to be in pencil. Can't be in pen. And people assumed, well, pen is permanent. They don't understand how these machines read the ballots. It doesn't matter if it's in pen or pencil. The machine will read the darkest mark. So whether it's in pen or pencil, if, for example, if it's in ink, and all you have to do is just scrub out some of that ink and make a darker pen note, and you can see both, like with your eyes, the machine will only read the darkest of the two. And this is setting aside that these things being staged doesn't need anyone to fill out anything. Because behind closed doors, behind the scenes, they can do whatever they want to do. Now, I'm not stating or implying anything about this last so-called election here in Canada, if it was rigged or not. I've said repeatedly, it doesn't matter who one votes for. The government's always in power, and the people who are the perceived leaders, elected leaders, they don't make any decisions. Those with generational commitment and the monopoly on violence are the ones that control everything around the world. But going back to looking at this superficially, they don't need to be erasing ballots or anything else. Any underhanded tactics could just be done behind closed doors and no one would know. And of course, there's going to be scapegoats and everything else that they're going to say, oh, look, we caught somebody, this or that, whatever. It's all a dog and pony show hidden behind smoke and mirrors, and people just buy right into it, like everything else we see going on. And another thing that we see rising with misinformation, disinformation, is things created by AI, artificial intelligence. I'm just going to segue for a moment. It's interesting how just recently someone assumed that one of my video shorts was all AI generated. And I couldn't understand what they were saying in the beginning when they were replying to me, and they were telling me that I need to wake up to that video short, 1-minute video, that I can't see that it's AI generated. So I responded to them like, what, that video short that I made that I'm in is AI? And it's funny because people will see something that's AI generated and say, oh yeah, that's real. But when there's something real being presented, they will like, no, oh, that's AI generated. It's crazy how all this works. But what's being shared now is false information, false news even, about many different topics that are not real, and people just see something posted, they share it. And when you confront them to say, hey, listen, this is wrong, and maybe even many other people are saying the same thing, they will still keep that post up. Well, because for whatever reason, you know. And most people don't bother going through reading comment sections or reply to comments, and they just, oh, look at that, and they'll share it. And this is how misinformation and disinformation just carries on it with a life of its own. It's mind-numbing to witness all this. We have people even talking about claims of people being assisted with, or offers to be assisted with, them taking themselves from life under this so-called MAID program here in Canada. And ever since this came about, I've been highlighting, taking screenshots from the actual website that it's not even in effect. And right now, that has been set aside to 2027. But people are convinced because they heard it from someone, or they heard it through the grapevine that, yeah, this person was offered. People are failing to understand that if this is what's being offered, it's a criminal offense at this time. Why aren't these people pursuing criminal charges, or even perhaps a civil remedy? Because being offered that type of assistance could be harmful, more harmful. Could be a lawsuit there. But people are just perpetuating things that they hear and not really thinking things through. And even when you present, for example, with this MAID 2027, and chances are, I've said before in other videos, when I'm talking about this, it's going to be bumped down the road anyway, so it's never going to happen. Why are people vetting information and stuff? And then you have people wanting to resurrect the grand jury in Canada for all sorts of silly reasons. But the thing is, which I mentioned in an overlay in a previous video, if they're so smart, they don't need a grand jury to prosecute someone. Why don't they proceed with a private prosecution if they're so smart? But it's just like a stalling tactic of these types of people who think that they know more than they do. And people buy into it because these types of people are telling everyone else what they want to hear. That's what it really boils down to, is what people want to hear. And as I try to highlight all these psyops and showing the evidence right in front of people's eyes of different things, I've had even recently and before people wanting me taken from life, whether it be by them, someone else, or by myself. That's how crazy these so-called awake truth or freedom types are. The same as the descriptive mainstream people are, just as batshit crazy. And all I can do, and the few others that can see, for example, what I'm pointing out, is just observe the insanity unfold. And there's really nothing you can do about it. Just basically just watch the world burn itself to the ground. Anyway, I just really want to highlight how these groups and the people, many of the people who join these groups, are part of psyops. And be aware of that. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share.
Nietzsche's abyss isn't really philosophical, it's biological. The exceptionally intelligent brain functions differently, creating both extraordinary capacity and extraordinary vulnerability. But what happens when you can't turn off this heightened awareness, when your mind refuses to rest? That's where we discover the next dimension of intelligence's double-edged nature. 3 a.m. The world sleeps, but your mind races. analyzing, this isn't ordinary restlessness.
Listen to this and write it down if you can't remember it. You're never going to outgrow warfare. You simply must learn to fight. I hear people saying to me, oh, when is it going to get easier? When you die.